Welcome into another edition of the Leadership Library, hosted by CEO and author Rocky Romanella. Rocky is the author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, and has over 40 years of business experience as a prominent member of the UPS Supply Chain Solutions team, as well as the CEO of Unitech Global Services. So sit back, grab your notebook, and take a seat, and get ready for this edition of the Leadership Library.
Welcome to the Leadership Library. I'm your host, Rocky Romanella, and today we're gonna wrap up our series on action plans. And we've talked about this process, and as you know, I'm a process person. I always talk about having a process. So for me, SWOT analysis is that process. We've talked about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. Let's talk today a little bit about threats or barriers. Now, many people do the threats before opportunities, but what I wanted to do is kind of pique your interest with opportunities. And now when we talk a little bit about threats, I'm hoping that you'll think about the last episode we had on opportunities, and start to think about how some of these threats or barriers are really opportunities in disguise for us. Now, some of them are real threats we got to fix. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But some of them are opportunities, right, in threats, you know, in threat clothing. Boy, that's a tough word for me to say, huh? That's all right. That's just it's a Jersey in me, not being able to pronounce some of those letters. So let's think about it from this perspective. What are some of the threats? Well, maybe a competitor is lowering its prices. Well, that's clearly a threat. However, that could be an opportunity because they're now commoditizing themselves. It's becoming all about price. Usually when you only talk about price, it's a race to the bottom. So now that may give you a chance to differentiate yourself, to show value. Maybe your price is going to get a little tight, but if you can show value, that where people are starting to see that your price point is worth it based on the value they're getting, and your competitor is lowering their price, but there's no quality at all. So that may end up being an opportunity. How about there's a shift in consumer trends? Now that's a difficult one, right? The way consumers are thinking about things differently or going to market differently. You know, you wonder sometimes when you look at the whole food side of things, you know, how many people are really, you know, in Amazon, you know, and they're kind of thought of, do we deliver the food as part of Amazon deliveries, or some people that it works really well for, some people it doesn't. So there's shifting consumer trends, but those may be opportunities for you depending on your business and the things that you're doing in your business. There could be increased trade barriers. I think we just went through a couple years of tariffs and trying to understand what those tariffs mean, how they impact our organization, our business. We're going through a difficult time now. So I think that all of us need to understand regulatory trade issues more than we ever have in the past before. So I think that'll be an important one. It may not lead as much to an opportunity, but the opportunity may exist that you can understand it, get ahead of it, compared to people who become a victim of it. I think you have to look at, is your product declining in the market? Is there no longer a need for your original product? But then how do you move your product to that next level? How do you move that product to the next place? So that could be an opportunity for you, but it is also a barrier or a threat for you inside the marketplace. And are there new products or services out there? You know, for many, many years, we talked at UPS that, okay, at some point do we become commoditized? You know, is it a race to the bottom with just pricing? And that's when we moved into the supply chain side of the business. And so you add value based on a threat. Sometimes people, for example, when you're doing a career development and you're talking about some of their barriers to success, not necessarily a threat, but a barrier to success, maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's a part of their skill set that needs working, you know, they need to improve on. Maybe there's outside counseling they get. Maybe they go to a continuing education class. Maybe they're more open to go into a Dale Carnegie. Those are all things that started out as a barrier for them that became an opportunity because they were open-minded and were willing to grow in development. So barriers and threats are certainly important. They're serious things you need to discuss. However, they can lead to opportunities. And if you look at it from a tactical perspective, you're trying to fix something. But if you look at it also from a strategic perspective, you're trying to fix something and make it better in the long term. And not only enjoy success for your people, but also for your organization. So that's our action plan segment. We talked about action plans overall, and then we talked about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats / barriers. I hope they were helpful. I hope you take the opportunity to, if you want to take a look inside Tighten the Lug Nuts, you can go through a chapter. We talk a lot about the SWOT analysis on my website. We talk a lot about it as well. But I think that's an important part of any leadership development program you put together inside your organization. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this series on action plans. Be safe, and look forward to speaking to you again shortly.